Hey everyone, this is the cool director's commentary track, I guess, for the new album. This is true. I'm here with my dear friend Hugh Lindsay.
Wade Shaw.
With my dear friend Wade Shaw. Hugh is another songwriter in town with Boy the Bunder Horse, which is a word, and then his own project. Your project is just
Which is a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunder Horse is a real thing,
It is. Now it is.
and your solo stuff is just under Hugh Lindsay.
It's
Correct?
just under Hugh Lindsay. Yep.
Sweet.
Wasn't trying to get too picky there. Just taking inspiration from that name. Just my own name. Taking inspiration from you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm very inspiring, I
Yeah.
suppose. Cool. Well, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna listen through the album and just talk about it. Hugh has heard it before. I originally thought I was just gonna try to get your first reaction, but then we talked about it and realized that neither of us would have much to say upon a first listen. So you've already heard it. And presumably, you guys listening to this have already heard it. But it'll be playing in the background, and you're free to listen along to let us know what you think. I love director's commentaries. When I was a kid, I used to always put on a movie before I would go to sleep, and for a long time it was Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, but with the director commentary turned on.
Yes.
That's the kind of person I am. So yeah, I just like hearing about the creative process and talking through it with people. So, Hugh, I gave us a lot of runway before the album starts. How are you?
I'm doing great, man.
Great.
I was gonna say I'm a person who hasn't listened to a lot of like commentary on stuff before, but it's something I've more recently been getting into. And so it excites me to get to be a part of this. And also I feel like I've recently just found a real value for it. I think I listened through my first album commentary last summer, and man, it really just changes the way that you hear the album, honestly. Just getting to kind of hear the background and hear each, a little bit about each song.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about this.
Yep. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I will go on this rant that if you've watched any of my behind the scenes video, I've gone on a million times. I don't, as an artist, like telling people what my songs mean, like what the interpretation is, because I feel like that takes some of the responsibility off of the listener to interpret it and come up with their own meaning. Or if they've already done that work, to interpret it and kind of figure out what it means to them. I feel like me giving my interpretation or what I intended the song to be runs the risk of invalidating that. So I will share kind of, what the songs meant to me and the writing process of them. But I also want to hear, I want to hear your impressions first, and then I'll kind of give mine, and then we'll jump off from there.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I kept my questions in that area fewer, but I do have a few.
Okay, and that's fine. That's I'll let you interview me. All right, I'm gonna pause this and just skip ahead to the album. Okay, so this is the first track entitled "The Throne of Third Heaven." Here we go. So this one was super inspired by two things musically. Music of Arvo Part, who's a minimalist composer. He'd compose these pieces and only use, I think, 3 notes, and he would just play in the space with those 3 notes. So I tried to do that with this. I can't remember if I was successful, but I think I only used 3 notes, just in all different octaves throughout the whole thing. And then secondly, the soundtrack to Hereditary, that just gets real broody and big in the middle. And those are the biggest musical inspirations for this piece. But I like having like a prelude to an album.
Dude, I remember when I first listened to this, I was in the car driving to Nashville, and I feel like it's still true even as you started it now. It just begs for your attention. Like it immediately, well, honestly, it just takes your attention. It's like when you started it just now, I'm just like, I don't even want to say anything. I just need to listen to this, because it's just so capturing right off the bat, and then just as it builds into it in the end, I just find myself like needing to stop whatever I'm doing and just pause and listen.
Yeah, and that was very much the intent. This song and the next song, Fear Not, are connected sort of thematically. Fear Not is about a guy building this really ridiculous sculpture out of garbage. And I saw a video of someone visiting that sculpture in the Smithsonian. We'll talk a little bit more about that story when we hit Fear Not. But there was just this like turn into the room where the sculpture was, and the way that light was hitting it, the way it was presented was very much what you're saying. It commanded your attention. Like you needed to be paying attention to this thing. And the sculpture is called The Throne of Third Heaven. And so I wanted to write, what would a soundtrack to that experience sound like? Like if you were to walk in and see that thing, what would it sound like?
That's so cool, because when I hear music, I see it very visually, and my own interpretation of this one was a type of like movie type scene like that, where it's like this, almost like this first glance of entering this either room or this certain scenario where you're just seeing something for the first time that just captures you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt every time I've listened to this song.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to even know that like there was some inspiration there from that.
Yeah, and even like the instrumentation, like you hear that little bell in the background. It's not quite in time, but it's just present. Like I really wanted it to kind of mirror this trash sculpture essentially.
Yeah.
It's just like mismatched bits and pieces. But then I wanted it to get real hectic right here.
Dude, I love this part.
And if you listen on headphones, the panning goes a little wild, and that was just, I wanted it to be somewhat disorienting if you were listening. Yeah.
So epic.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you feel like it caught your attention, because that was the point of that whole track, was let's get him in.
Every time I've listened to it, it just begs to be paid attention to.